Well, Chad, we'll start with you. How did you feel that game went?
What was that? It was garbage. It was garbage. The first half was terrible. They came out. I mean, the second half, you could tell. I mean, I'm sure David Moyes tried to light a fire under him in the dressing room at halftime. It was garbage. It was terrible. I can't believe I woke up early for it. Man, we'll have to get into all the players, but I just meh, meh. What'd you think?
Well, I'll continue with my meh, but first let's ask Basil. Anything other than meh? There were some things to talk about, absolutely, but
I mean,
I
it wasn't
understand the "we battled" expression.
wasn't an amazing game to watch. I mean, it was at the end of the day, two sides have not very much to play for now, and yeah, I mean, if you woke up really early, I could see why you'd be really frustrated with that. But I mean, there was moments where it was quite frantic, particularly like first 20 minutes and bits in the second half. Quite enjoyed early in the second half, but I think as the game, both halves tired out. Both halves went on. We tired out after, especially on Wednesday, the amount of running we put in, and I think Arsenal had the ball a lot, so it was a bit boring to watch. But yeah, it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, so I think Tazul and I think Kevin talking about not being able to watch the match live, and we didn't miss much, but there were some moments. I mean, look, Jack Harrison with his first official assist of the season by being fouled for a penalty, something to talk about.
Oh.
Illiman and Jai, I think, had an excellent return. We had O'Brien and Branthwaite doing excellent in the first half in particular, until Martinelli came on and gave us all sorts of problems down that left-hand side. We can talk about the sloppy play between Idrissa Gana Gay and Branthwaite for the goal. And the penalty. Do you think the one we got today was a penalty? I think it was, but it was one of these awkward ones where they're both holding each other a little bit, but then he fell on Jack Harrison on his ankle, and I think he fell just at the right time where the contact was inside the box. So I think it was the right call, but I've seen those not given for us. So I'll take it,
Yeah, I'll jump on that. 41 coming on. Good. Hey, if you're just joining us, this is the post show. Everton Arsenal 1-1 draw. We're talking about the penalty. I thought it was hilarious that there was a penalty given for that, especially from a referee that seemingly decided he wanted to make this match about him and not the football that was being played. The whole story of that match was, I thought it was a very uneven performance by him. A lot of foul calls, a lot of questionable decisions. The penalty I did not think was a questionable decision. And I think what actually made it was that Jack Harrison didn't try to make a meal out of it the way Ashley Young did a few matches ago. He was getting, he was getting blocked off, wrapped around, and he went down deservedly so. And then actually tried to pop back up and get a cross in. And I think because of that, he was awarded a penalty. I thought it was a fair. I thought it was not a soft, not a hard penalty. I thought it was a fair penalty. What do you think, Basil?
Yeah, I don't think it was one that could easily be overturned by the VAR, but it wouldn't have surprised me had it gone to VAR because it was a little bit soft. But the thing is, my gut reaction was a penalty. We were about to go almost sort of through at least a good chance to get a cross across or have a shot. So it was a good, promising opportunity, and he trips him up. So at the end of the day, to me, it was worthy of a penalty. Yeah, but I think the important thing is that came out of the intensity and Everton's slightly different approach, a lot more quicker and direct early on in that second half and a lot more aggressive. And winning that penalty was part of that.
Yeah, so to talk about winning that penalty, instead of it being a long ball direct, it had a diagonal element to it. Kiwior did not go up for the header, and it left, is it Miles Kelly? Lewis Kelly?
Yeah, Kelly.
Basically not sure when to go for it. And Jack Harrison, very similar in a way to when Dominic Calvert-Lewin had that snuck on the Burnley keeper last season and sprung up and surprised him. He waited, and he basically jumped on him on the back post, and then he had to kind of wrestle with him behind himself and took him down with it. So I think it was well timed by Harrison on how he timed his run at the back post. But typically, we haven't seen clever little plays from Harrison. Usually, he does the opposite, where he'll run forward and somehow give away the ball. So I think credit where credit's due, but we found a way to make Arsenal actually quite uncomfortable in the fullback positions. Granted, not a surprise, and we got Ben White subbed off around the 60th minute as well. So I think we took advantage of some uncertainty from them in the fullback positions, and that was how we got the penalty.
It did look shaky, Arsenal, when it came to in the back line. I don't know if that was the change of Gabriel a little bit, but I mean, the centre backs looked good, but as you say, the full backs, they seemed to struggle and around the midfield with stacking balls and stuff. I think when we actually went at them and had to go and played with a bit more intensity and tried to score, I felt like they could have been got at, but at the same time, by leaving the door open, led to quite a few moments you alluded to earlier with the kind of mistakes.
Yeah. So
let's talk about a couple of things there, because we have some interesting comments in the section. John Gotti, the mob boss himself, is throwing David Moyes under the bus for potentially playing Harrison and Patterson. I'm trying to follow along. What do we think about David Moyes' selection for this game? Did he get it right? I know we were thin out wide. Some questionable moves. Patterson in on the left. What did we think about that, Basil? Did you like how David Moyes had it set up?
It was very odd to see Patterson starting at left back. I don't think he's ever played at left back, especially got Ashley Young on the bench, unless he kind of sensed that Saka was going to be rested and he was going to come on late and they're going to match him up with Ashley Young, which is pretty much what happened. That's my only really thinking there. It's a bit confusing. But yeah, so you had Patterson there, didn't he? And then Timur Ibrahimovic came in, which kind of made sense because James Garner's not really contributing that much going forward. So I think he's trying to get a sense of some of the other players and what they can contribute amongst the general starting 11. If he mixes it up a little bit, how does it change things? So I think he's probably trying to learn about these players. And who else was changed? I'm trying to think. Alcaraz was dropped, wasn't he?
Alcaraz, and Decore kept his spot and Jai started.
Yeah. That's questionable to me because Decore's not back next season. What else is David Moyes trying to get out of playing Decore all 90 plus minutes today when he could have gotten a look at Ndai centrally. I know we are again weak out wide, but he could have gotten a look at Ndai centrally. Charlie Alcaraz, we know, could have gotten yet another start. It was odd. Did you find that odd?
Did McNeil even touch the ball? Sorry to interject there, but McNeil, I think he came on, didn't even touch the ball. He just stuck out wide. And Alcaraz, maybe that one is just trying to stop him from racking up the number of appearances or something to do with the contract and the money that we pay. But Aussie Chris, do you?
I feel like we've got so many of these little topics to go at. So we'll start with the starting lineup aspect first, because there's a lot of conversations here about Nathan Patterson, and it looked a bit like Kieran Trippier playing left back for England, where he doesn't have a left foot, so he goes inside, so it's predictable. But I don't think he played poorly at the same time. But I think it was also a matter of Wanyeri not often really being put in a position to really test Patterson. There was one tackle that was pretty aggressive, and I'm surprised he didn't get a yellow for. I thought he did, and then later on, there was another challenge where I was like, man, how did he not get a yellow? But outside of that, I think he held his own. I don't think he was a major cause of weakness for us. I think we had more of a challenge in that second half with the O'Brien matchup against Martinelli, who's got just blistering pace. The one that I actually was really excited to see was in central midfield, because James Garner has seemed he's always running, but he doesn't have the same physicality as Eric Burnham. And we've seen Eric Burnham come in late, so he's not really hitting the ground running these matches. He tackles, he battles, but he was very sloppy on the ball when he did. He would battle through, win possession, and just seemed a little bit flat when he did have an opportunity to do anything going forward, and gave it away cheaply, a bit Decore-like actually.
Yeah, he was really poor today. Erabunam looked like he was out in front of his skis a bit. Looked like an under 21 player playing with the big boys. Interesting though that he went with that. He clearly wants to get a look at Tanner Irabuem and see what he has there. And James Garner hasn't been doing much, but I think what we saw today was indicative of just the overall problem with the club and this team in general, is that there's an overall lack of quality. So, Nathan Patterson didn't seemingly put a foot wrong today, but can you think of any positive thing he may have done? Was he clean in possession? Did he execute? I mean, it just seemed like across the board, we were not as efficient, not technical, sloppy. And then when you do that, then you're not able to create chances or take advantage of your opponent's mistakes. And I think we saw that for 90 plus minutes today.
So, well, I will say there was something about Everton today where it was underwhelming, but they found a way to chase, tackle, and force. It was almost a false sense of security from Arsenal, and we just couldn't convert it. There was a few times where Eric Bruno won it in these spots because he was just keeping the ball in play and winning the second ball. The problem is, a bit, as I was saying to Corey, what are you doing at that moment once you get the ball? Iliman Ndiaye was clearly the standout going forward almost the entire match to me. And he scored his penalty well, but I think he was taking on players and making Ben White really nervous on that side. But outside of that, I was not that impressed with a lot of Everton going forward in that first half.
You were not impressed?
A lot of it, no. And I mean, there was probably about 3 moments where there was really quick touches from Abdoulaye Doucouré, and there was one Beto backheel that was just overhit, which was interesting, but it was very it wasn't clean setup either. It was counterattacking, but it just felt disjointed the entire time. Or we got lucky that we had a chance and didn't do anything with it.
I feel like Everton didn't really sit back in that first half because we kept turning over. They kept turning over the ball and also kept getting counterattacks. I think we were actually trying to play a bit in their half and try to play the game and be trying to match them. Really, obviously not going to match them in play style and possession, but I think Moyes set them out to, try and be competitive in that game and see how they got on against a good opponent that wasn't red shite, different red. But I think, as you say, I think there wasn't many opportunities they created. There was that one that Better got nearly forced it. I think the long balls, they got mopped up very easily by the centre backs. The passing around, the progressive passing was a struggle. I think Arsenal got men behind the ball. They're a very good defensive unit as well. So I think didn't really give us space. And when we did have space, we seemed to just run it into their players and then try and win it back straight away. It was very frantic at times and giving away the ball and winning it back straight away, but then not doing anything with it. So yeah, generally we didn't create that much, I think, and it petered out 30 minutes in. I think Everton didn't do much for 20 minutes after that. I really lost a lot of confidence and kind of the aggression just disappeared as soon as they conceded. It was like, oh no, we're 1-0 down, we're never going to score now, so let's wait till half time.
There were elements of this game there were elements of this game that seemed similar to Wednesday. I think this team really struggles when you're playing a possession-based side that presses well. We seem hurried on the ball. It always feels like I was watching Wednesday. It felt like Liverpool had 13 on the field. Today it felt like the same from Arsenal. They're just getting to every ball. Seems like they're faster to every ball. They're able to execute better. I think it's just indicative of just a less talented team and not ready for that level of speed and aggression that I think Arsenal brought in that first half. The second half was better. It was an improved effort. Maybe Arsenal started to tire out a little bit. But really a story of two halves for me. And it probably apropos that it finished 1-1 with a goal in each half for both of the sides that seemed to be more aggressive. Basil, who were your standouts from today? Anybody that you really liked what they did? I know Chris had mentioned Ndiaye.
Yeah, Ndiaye was good, wasn't he? And he's obviously not 100% fit, but he just has that bit of class, a bit of ability to drop a shoulder, unlock a ball. I thought, it's a good question that actually. No, I thought Branthwaite was good up until the up until he got a mix-up with Ghana Gay. I'm sure we'll come on to that with the goal, but I thought the header from going in from a corner, he's blocked a one-on-one, I think it was 2v1, and he stopped that ball coming across and intercepted it. I thought he was
There's
good
one
at
off the line he
most
cleared
of the
too.
game. I thought he was
There's
good
one
for
right
most
on
of
the
the
back
game.
corner.
Yeah. No, I can't really think of many. I mean, Harrison worked hard and obviously won the penalty, but yeah, there was a few performances more stand out and think that wasn't their normal selves. You know, like Garner giving the ball away a lot and Tarkowski getting caught out. You know, Jacob Bryan didn't defend the shot, and it was more like that side of it, unfortunately, than positive. I mean, did you guys have any other? Pickford obviously saved a couple of shots, and there was one that wouldn't have counted, but it was a superb save. He tipped over in the second half.
I thought Pickford was good, with the exception of the goal. I thought he was a little far off his line for being how that transition, how they were attacking in transition. And you could clearly see that if Trossard was going to get a shot off, it was going to go far post. So I thought Pickford misplayed that. But you can't really put it on him. It's probably more Idrissa Gana Gay's fault. Maybe we should get into their goal, but it was probably, more of Idrissa Gana Gay. James Tarkowski not stopping that play when he may have had a chance instead of backpedaling. Who do we put that goal on, Chris? Do you see that as Gana Gay's fault or Branthwaite? Where do you sit?
So there's going to be a few components to it. Yes, we lost the ball around the 18-yard box. It was not right around in the D or the circle there. It has to be Jared Branthwaite demanding to win the header, but it appeared like he called for it, but then Ghana Gay called him off it. So then it's Ghana Gay for having the audacity to call off your tall centre half, but also for Branthwaite not forcing the issue because he's the larger player. After that, it was, I forget who won the ball for them, but not Martinelli, Trossard. So Sterling had it, knocks it out to Trossard, and then O'Brien was slightly offset with his footwork, and because he was not faced up to block that shot, I think Pickford was caught off guard as well. So I think there was a few components there. Branthwaite not owning that situation, Ghana Gay putting his head where it shouldn't have been after it seemed like Branthwaite called him off, and a little bit about O'Brien. And I'm not going to really fault Pickford there because it was struck low and hard and kind of blocked through the legs a little bit. But I'm sure the likes of Peter Duggan will make a comment as he's a keeper if we miss something.
I think Branthwaite's got to either go in and demand and dominate that header, or he's got to drop off a couple of yards and just read that he might be needed on the cover. He does neither of those things, so that leaves us in a really tricky position. We're running with Tarkowski, who's not the quickest. Got fast players running at you, and then obviously Jacob Bryan, he doesn't really cover himself in glory because he doesn't really make his body like solid. He kind of opens up a little bit and he goes through his leg. Disappointing goal to concede, but I think Arsenal will be pleased with that goal.
Yeah, did you also notice right afterwards Tarkowski giving a verbal kind of reminder of Ghana Gay, what are you doing? He's done that a few times whenever Ghana Gay does something terrible like those back pass against Brighton a couple of years ago, he always gives him a bollocking for doing stupid stuff and causing goals, and that was one of those moments. You could tell Tarky reprimanding and the camera covering that conversation that it was the team thought it was on Ghana Gay.
Yeah, I think that's important leadership, though. Ghana Gay is nearly irreproachable. The man has played at PSG with one of the greatest of all time. It has to be someone like James Tarkowski that is able to say something like that to Ghana Gay, and there are very few of those kind of people right now on the pitch for us. Seamus Coleman not playing, obviously. So I don't mind that so much. I think my biggest frustration in general was just it just seemed a little sleepy, and maybe it's because We played Wednesday in an emotional, Merseyside derby on Wednesday, but yeah, the first half just seemed very, very sleepy, almost like a team that didn't fully want to be out there. I think in that instance, David Moyes has to give them something to play for. I don't know, Basil. Did you think there's anything else? Any other buttons David Moyes could have pushed today to kind of light a fire under the team?
He did change 3 players, which I don't know whether it was partly to do with the experimental approach or whether that was just freshening up the team a little bit after playing only like just about 3 days later. So I'm not sure he could have done much else. We don't know what he says. We don't know what he says tactically. We don't know what he says to motivate the players. But it didn't seem anything extraordinary today. It just seemed a tiny bit experimental with Patterson on that left back. It's not really representative of playing Patterson, is it? Of judging him. He plays 1 game in 18 months and you see him at left back. You can't really make a call on him like that, I don't think. So that was a bit confusing. You're almost thinking, well, Branthwaite could play left back, and everyone, Jacob Bryan maybe just goes into centre back. You see him in his proper position. I don't know. Whatever you do, you seem to be everyone's playing in different positions to what they should be, which is not ideal, is it? He's got trying to shoehorn Alcaraz and Doucouré in the same spots. In fact, Ndiaye, Doucouré, Alcaraz, and McNeil all want to play number 10. It seems so. That's going to be a little bit of an issue as well.
Mm-hmm. I was curious why he didn't go to a 5 in the back. You had an opportunity where you could have brought in Ashley Young potentially as a left wing back, Patterson as your right wing back, and played your 3 monsters centrally. I was a little surprised he didn't go with that approach. He seems really adamant about keeping Jake O'Brien in that right fullback position. It's especially when he may not even be there in that spot for us next year. Chris, were you surprised how bullish he seems to be on Jake O'Brien as a fullback when there are other alternatives that we could have turned to?
I suppose a lot of the time Moyes has played, it's a makeshift 5 at the back where one of the full quite often, but you'll have O'Brien playing quite deep, but at times today he was pressed quite high up as well. So it was more pressing in. Oh, who was their left winger? I guess Trossard at point. But yeah, what you're getting at, I think would be interesting. Dwight McNeil is not fully fit again, as we know. He just came in for like a 7-minute cameo. Jack Harrison as a wingback, we've kind of seen all year. But what I would have rather have seen is him come to a left wingback position, bring Patterson to a right wingback position, and then have a few players more centrally. Maybe axe Abdoulaye Doucouré and put Charlie in the middle. But honestly, I was unimpressed with Charlie Alcaraz today as well. He seemed to get completely kind of bypassed in that midfield from Arsenal. So maybe that wouldn't be a good option either on a game like today.
He's playing out. I hate judging him when we are desperately playing him out wide when he's not a wide player. So I don't really want to fault him. He also didn't get it was a little bit more than a cameo, a little bit more than what Dwight got, it seemed. And it was a frantic game. Looks like we have John Gotti in the comments just trying to burn the place down. Gotti, what are you on today? I think he's holding he's I had to put him in timeout a couple minutes ago. He's back still flamethrowing.
You got rid of Rod Ross before, not.
No, I didn't.
John,
I didn't mean to get rid of.
Yeah, you got rid of Rod Ross, and I was like, what did he do? Anyway,
if I got rid of Rod, I apologize. I know I meant to put Gotti in timeout. I think we have to be careful not to try to expect too much out of a team that David Moyes is essentially babysitting until the end of the year. And Gotti is in the comments questioning why we're not asking for more. One win in when was the last win, for God's sakes? One win in a while. We'll say that.
Is it Crystal Palace?
Yeah, it's been a bit.
If we're under the true dinosaur that starts with a D, the D Whitechasaur. Anyway, that you basically what you'd be expecting is no wins at all in this period. So we realize we were right at the relegation zone, and we've gotten ourselves comfortably out of it, and that's why I snuck in the updated standings. I'm not sure if I guess the match has just kicked off, so I don't include anything that just started 5 minutes ago. But look, Everton are on 35 points, comfortably ahead of what I guess is the desperate relegation 6-pointer with Wolves and Ipswich going on right now. And if we have a 6-point gap against Wolves and they have like a 9-point gap, that aspect Moyes is done. But are we expecting brilliance out of a squad that isn't his? Is that unreasonable to expect more? Maybe, but yeah, I am a little bit underwhelmed. But at the same time, I think maybe he overachieved for that brief period and our expectations were too high.
Yeah, I think that's fair. This was very dicey today. I didn't see a whole lot more out of David Moyes than I think Sean Dyche would have done. But he did give us that manager
positional
bounce.
Freedom was a little bit more free.
Yeah, yeah.
That's about
yeah.
it.
Oh, and he played Patterson because Dyche would have died rather than put Patterson into a game.
He slapped him off the bench so far he went to left fullback by accident. Yeah.
Is Ryan joining us? I want to hear Ryan's thoughts on this. I think I saw him in the comments a couple times.
No, I messaged him. He said he's got to go to work. So,
right. But I think this is the point that we're getting at. We're getting tired of mediocrity, but that's the thing. I'm so worn out with mediocrity, and we're not getting relegated. Unless touch wood here. I've got a nice new wood desk at home, so touch wood there to say unless something really odd happens. We're just kind of drifting to the end of the season. I think Ryan on the preview with Corey was saying he just wants the season to be over. I think a lot of us are like that. The fact that, but don't you want to have a good send-off on the final match at Goodison? Do we want to have a flat, underwhelming 1-1 draw and like we saw today? No, I want to see a 3-0 win and Spirit of the Blues like breaking the foundations safely so everyone can get out after Goodison exercise, and all of a sudden we end happily at that stadium instead of we're just glad for the season to be over and then we miss it after 3 months off. That's where I feel like we're going, and I think it's feeling flat for a lot of Everton fans, and for John and some of these others. They feel that we're passing the era of mediocrity, but we're still in it. But we've got to keep holding on. But we can't just promise mediocrity indefinitely. But we're not through it yet. We still have another year of financial challenges because we're not in profit and sustainability deduction zone, but we're not out of the woods in terms of just free spending and reconstructing the team either. So we're still chipping away at cautious spending. So it's kind of blah or meh, as Chad would say.
Yeah, let's be fair to Gotti. Yeah, he's probably in the comments winding people up. But as you said, Chris, we need to be patient. But I think we're also tired of being patient. Like this, we deserve more as fans. We expect more out of a historically great team. So I can understand both sides of it. But I mean, putting the fault on David Moyes is it's misplaced right now. David Moyes is doing everything he can to keep this team up and then get them into that new stadium in one piece, unvarnished. That's not the right word. And just in good shape. Polish? I don't know where I was going. I don't know what I'm saying, but that is David Moyes' task, and David Moyes has passed that test currently with flying colors, and we will be safe. And then I think we can start judging his tenure this summer on the additions that he brings in and the way this team looks heading into the fall. So
this is what we want right here. Sorry, I had to grab that meme online for that one. We're not we're entertained, but it was 15 minutes of passion and getting first the ball in that second half, right around the goal.
Yeah. You can imagine, Ryan, Ryan would come on here. He'd say, "I sat in my seat for 90 minutes. It was really boring. There was no crowd. We lacked the quality. We had so many times we could have learned from the transitional mistakes, and we conceded from one. I can't believe it. The dinosaurs of players. We need new team." Ryan would be. Ryan wouldn't be very happy, I don't think, with that performance, but I'm sure he would be happy to pick up a point. And everyone's got to put this into perspective of the bigger picture that we're on a decent run. There's a lot of draws, obviously. We need to find ways to convert that into victories. But against the top 4 or 5 sides, how many of those games are you expecting us to really win with the quality of the side we have?
Yeah, I think that's
is
right.
Arsenal the one we'd expect?
Are we sure Gotti isn't Ryan in the comments causing trouble? I think it might be.
I don't see Ryan. I don't see Becky Hillary. I do see a follow Everton
It's Ryan.
official channel. So
I
I do have Ryan.
I've got to go out, so I'll let Ryan come in and I'll listen to what he has to say. And I'll see you all later.
I've only got 2 minutes because I've got to get my suit on and go to work. Hello? Oh, he's gone.
Hello.
Hello.
What's your takes? Come on, Ryan. Come in hot.
Well, I sat in my seat for 90 minutes. It was really boring. There was no.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you?
Get him out of here.
What's going on?
Basil's trying to be funny.
No, it was really boring. I sat in my seat for 90 minutes. I wasn't entertained. Just walking through the door.
Any highlights, Ryan? Anything that you liked, or just the whole time?
Sorry about his light. I didn't enjoy that match. I was bored from the first moment. I didn't quite understand what our plan was to make life difficult for Arsenal. I think what actually Arsenal tried to do, guys. I think Arsenal thought that Everton were going to come out right out the blue. Where's he gone?
Okay, Chad's gone for a sec. Well,
okay.
Continue on, and he can join us back when he's free.
Yeah. So
what were Arsenal trying to do?
They thought they showed us a lot of respect in the first half. I think they thought we were going to go out and turn Arsenal over and be very aggressive and play on the front foot and be the exact opposite of what we did, and that's why they didn't start guns. They didn't. They were time wasting from the minute off. I've never seen people on the floor more than in that match.
Trossard in particular, he was on the floor a lot.
They just spent the whole.
Yeah, Ryan, do you think part of the respect component was because he was so confident? Because think of Jordan Pickford there. He basically nearly gave them a goal in the first minute. You're like, oh man, he's trying to mock us. We better be careful about this squad. But yeah, you were talking on and tweeting that you felt that Everton weren't pressing. They weren't exactly pressing, but they were timing their. I guess I'm not sure it's a mid block per se, but trying to expose false sense of security on their wings and winning the ball back. The problem is they couldn't do anything when we got the ball. We just gave it back to them. Especially on their right side, they looked quite poor.
I'd have to watch it back. I'd have to see the tactical side of it. From my perspective, it felt like we were neither pressing or dropping off. We weren't really committed to a low block, get close to the goal, and then we're going to go and punish you on the counter, or we're going to go and press you and pin you in and stop you playing out. We were better when we did press and pin them in when they had the back to goal and we were aggressive. And we were probably better when we played long ball. The problem was Beto was very isolated on his own against world-class defenders who defend 1v1 and then play football. But, I sat there and I was disappointed, but I was annoyed with Arsenal, time wasting from minute one. And I think, like I say, I think they were coming to Goodison thinking Everton are going to be right up for this. They're going to come and try and bully us and outfight us. And then they really realised that Everton were actually just gifting them. The only chances that Arsenal got were from Everton just being really sloppy in possession and not knowing what to do with the ball, which is weird. And then so that's what it is. And then I think Arsenal realised at half time, actually Everton are not at the races. They've got nothing about them. They brought all their players on, but they rested Odegaard, Saka, and Martinelli against Everton at Goodison Park. You know, they showed us either a lack of respect in the fact that they thought they could turn us over easily, or they thought we were just going to give us such a good game that they're going to need more defenders on and more players with discipline. I don't know.
Yeah. It was quite interesting though, Ryan. The second they brought on some of their key, critical players, you think Martinelli comes on, you think Saka comes on, and all of a sudden we look better. Straight away we're on them. We get that penalty, the tails up for about 10 minutes, and we're pressing more aggressively and making a true game of it. And then it starts to flatten off a bit around that 60-minute mark. And Jai gets his cramp, and I think that really slowed us down. We had to take him off, and we didn't have that outlet that we sometimes have had. And you think back to when we were up 2-0 against Bournemouth at Goodison, and the second he comes off, the game changes. It felt a little bit like that same problem. We only have a couple options, and then we're in trouble. Yes, they brought on Odegaard. Our substitutes didn't really do much. Charlie didn't really influence the game, I don't think. I mean, Ashley Young did what we expected of him. James Garner ran around a lot, and Broja was even more isolated than Beto was. So it was nice to see some of these players come on.
Broja did better than better. I have to go and get ready for work now, unfortunately, and it's Grand National Day, so I'm working. But so Chad can just come in and say his piece. But the first half for me, in summary, was Arsenal taking the piss. The referee was allowing Arsenal to control all aspects of the game. The time wasting, the fouls, he was buying into it all, and it's like he needs to go back to refereeing school. He was really quite an irritating ref. And then they made the substitutions. We got a penalty, which is a clear penalty. He's dragged him down, but it is just out of nothing. It's a long ball and behind them. Something we didn't do the whole game. We like to just chip it into Beto and hope that he's going to hold off world-class defenders and bring people into play when there's no one near. It was almost Dyche-esque. It did feel like that for large spells. And then we tried to make substitutions. Timur Abunam, who was very poor as far as I was concerned, came off.
He was.
Jimmy Garner came on. He was a bit anonymous. Decore, anonymous. Jack Harrison, who won the penalty, but was largely anonymous. It's the same things again. It's, you know, you see it. Patterson wasn't really comfortable at left back. Jake O'Brien was struggling at right back, but did, for the large part in the first 60 minutes, do his job. It was a game where I felt like I was waiting for it to end from the minute the penalty went in. I didn't ever feel going to get a because the thing was, we didn't have any sustained possession at any point in that match. We didn't string any passes together. It was a bit of a damp squib, and then I think when it ended, it was quite flat. I think it was like a realization of the draw is no good for Arsenal, and also it didn't really do anything for Everton. So I have to go and get ready. Unfortunately, I'd love to sit and chat about this. Chad, going to jump in?
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, great seeing you, Ryan. I appreciate you jumping in for a couple of minutes and sharing your thoughts. It seemed like two sides that are ready for the season to be over. Everton or Arsenal know that they're not jumping Liverpool.
Well, they also have a different season going on midweek. They've got leg one of the Champions League against Real Madrid, and that was very obvious.
Yeah, and say one more time, Ryan.
That might be why they rested their players. The actual January meeting, probably more than the title's gone. The title's long gone.
Yeah, I think that was it. This did not seem like a game Arteta was prioritizing in any way, and it was just meh. That's why I have that comment down, just all through, and also. I think many of these Everton players are already just trying to figure out what their next move is going to be. There's nothing else to see from Jack Harrison at this point. There's nothing else to see from Beto. I think we have a full understanding of what these guys are. I actually just wish Moyes would give Chermiti some run. We saw Broja for some extended minutes today. I appreciate what he tried to do with
Charlie in the middle.
Yeah.
Honestly, Charlie in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah. The other piece of it, Jake O'Brien had a great opportunity to score in that first half. A rare moment where Jack Harrison had quite a good cross from that right side. I think it was off a free kick, and he just didn't react quick enough when it was off his chest to kind of turn and knock it in. But again, we're talking players we like seeing and getting more time on. Watching Jake O'Brien to the end of the season is part of that, because he's in the right spot in the back post. He didn't knock it in today, but again, in that right position to score, has nearly scored his third goal of the season.
Yeah, it was a good chance, and chances were certainly few and far between. I thought the Jake O'Brien one was a golden one. As Everton tied later on, Arsenal did get that chance with Martinelli, with Jake O'Brien, it was flagging, and he'd had enough of. He couldn't cope with him. He didn't want to go. He didn't want to go in with him, and Pickford makes a good save, and Pickford wasn't really tested, in all honesty. The reason I was so angry was because I said, it was very, very clear that Arsenal were waiting for Everton to make a mistake, and they had it. The Branthwaite last-ditch tackle, the Pickford one where he gives it away in the first minute. There was multiple like that, and the goal is just like that, and it's just like, what are you doing? The players don't seem prepared. They don't seem alert. There was lacking intensity. They were not showing levels of aggression. Decore is simply just a body in there. He's nowhere near it. I don't know what he's bringing to that team at the moment. Alcaraz is not getting played. He's the only Charlie that's not getting involved today in Merseyside, and I'm slightly irritated that he isn't being played in that position, because, like we discussed on the preview, me and Corey, Manchester City won the league back after back. But they were defensively brilliant because the way they coached the attacking players to play without the ball. Why can't we? We kind of feel like we have to go with defensive players to defend, when actually a good team coaches the attacking players to defend. You know what I mean?
Offense is the best defense, especially if you have possession,
which we didn't have. And the thing was, they didn't have Gabriel, they didn't have Odegaard, they didn't have Saka in the start, and we turned up like
and Timber as well, and on right fullback, and Ben White coming back rusty. You could tell
it was a training match for Arsenal. They were just pass, and wait for us to make a mistake. We didn't want to press, and we didn't want to drop, and we didn't want to do anything. And honestly, I'm disappointed with David Moyes today. I thought he could have made changes at halftime, but listen, we got a point against the second best team in the league at Goodison. We take it and we move on. Yeah, and I've unfortunately got to move on.
No, all good, Ryan. It might be a good time to wrap up anyway, Chad, unless you have anything else you want to look at.
No, we can go through a couple of the comments. I just want to make sure that, some of our favorites are getting called out. Emma, we love you as always. Not ashamed to say I cried like a baby. Can't blame you.
Actually,
there's
another key one to bring up. They did a really nice tribute. I think it was on 9 minutes, especially with both Arsenal and Everton being involved. This was a really touching moment. I actually, lame duck me clapping on on an iPad in a couch in the dark. Like, what am I doing? But again, it's one of those touching moments, with the everyone clapping and appreciating it. So good note there from Kevin as well.
Yeah, I thought that was absolutely fantastic and class by all those supporters at Goodison today. Just still can't believe that Super Kev is not around. So I'm glad he was able to get some of that attention today. Not seeing anything else maybe worthwhile. We've had a lot of back and forth in the comments, so maybe nothing that we want to call out. Rather than going player by player with scores, Chris, is there? You want to just give me like your top 3, bottom 3, and we'll kind of go with that?
Sure. I think top 3 today is going to be Iliman Ndiaye. We haven't talked about how he struck his penalty because David Raya was certainly trying to distract him, and I think he looked a little bit edgy, and you could tell Ndiaye was really playing it calm, slowing it down, waited for the move, and slotted it on the bottom. He didn't try to do too much and take a risk on it, and comfortably slotted. And I think he's shown today. Outside of that, I was very impressed with how Jared Branthwaite was handling himself, especially in that first half. Yeah, that the goal, take that out of the consideration, because look, it's kind of a combination of two people there, but it's an experienced leader of the team causing part of the issue there. But he was very good winning some key headers in critical areas when Arsenal were pressing in our 6-yard box. The third player, that gets tricky. I'm going to say I'll give it to Nathan Patterson because he has not been involved for a long time, and he wasn't getting shown up out of position. He didn't make or break the squad either, but I think he held his own, especially for his first show in for the year.
Yeah,
It's
great.
a very sad third.
Two of mine are the same. Definitely Inland and I. He was our man of the match. What I appreciate about him so much is that his hustle when he loses the ball and his desire to go and win it back. He's an inspiring talisman type player for this team, and
We both
I'm
got
excited.
a shirt, Chad.
I
That
did.
says
I did.
something.
I'm excited to see what he does next year with some more talent around him. He's just an absolute favorite of mine. I thought Jared Branthwaite was really great, especially before we conceded the goal. It could have very well have been 2 or 3 nil at halftime had it not been for him. So he's just rock steady. I mean, and I appreciate that. He had what I felt like was a pretty good game today. While it was the spotlight only game on in England at the time. So I hope he got the attention for his efforts that he deserves. And then I probably put most of the responsibility on him for the goal, but I thought Idrissa Gana Gueye gave just a signature Gana Gueye experience again, winning tackles, trying to press hard, run hard when called on. I think he's been so solid for us this season, and probably one of the reasons that we'll be safe officially soonish. Maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll officially be safe. But by all intents and purposes,
or if Wolves beat Ipswich, maybe it's about there tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. My 3 poor efforts. I'm going to first start with Tim Irabunum. Just again looked really out of place. So it's a shame too, because I saw some really bright spots from him earlier in the season, and he's been good in his cameos for us, but he looked like in extended playing time today, he looked a little out of his depth. Who else was pretty poor? I mean, Jack Harrison was better, definitely didn't keep the ball on his feet as usual, but didn't do much, but he did get the penalty call. So I don't want to call out Jack Harrison. Beto
with
and
5 subs to talk about.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Beto and Decore. We just need more out of those. Those are your 2 prime attacking positions, in my opinion, and we just didn't get it out of them today. They tried to link up. Beto had that back heel kick that you had mentioned, and Decore fumbled it in the box. That was like a key opportunity that should have probably led to a goal. So I'm going to say Beto and Decore. I really hope that we can see Chermiti for extended time, and it certainly looks like Moyes wants to see some more Broja as well. So those will be my 3 my 3 poor showings today. You have anybody else I didn't think of, Chris?
I'm trying to think. Well, I wanted to add, Decore, we know he can be anonymous. He had little moment, and partly why I think he stays in the squad is he has these little times where he's able to tactfully come in and nick the ball and induce a turnover, and he's the quickest in that first second or two to get going from our 18-yard box forward. The problem is after he gets the ball, what happens? So he had a couple moments like that, but it's just not to the standard you say you should be a Premier League number 10, guaranteed starting over the likes of Charlie Alcaraz going forward. Who else? I've talked about how Charlie, and you can say he was played out of position, but he didn't impact the game enough for me. James Garner, after being taken out of the starting lineup, I would have expected more from him as a response, a bit like Martin Odegaard, probably not wanting to be subbed off or being taken out and wanting to prove himself, and he missed a golden opportunity to score. So you're thinking these players that are demanding to be put back in the squad, he didn't do enough for me to really do that.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we'll get out of here. Chris, great seeing you. Appreciate Baz jumping in early. Ryan jumping in and giving us his thoughts for a couple minutes. Anything we want to say before we get out of here?
No, I mean, a point's a point. It was sloppy, competitive, but look, it could be worse. And Adam messaged me just before saying, you really wish we got a point against Liverpool, and if you had to give a point to one of the two squads, you'd rather not lose to Liverpool. But the reality is, that's up to Arsenal to win the league without our input. We can get emotional about it, but that's the reality. Is we have to worry about us and get the points where we need them.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for all the comments. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Follow Everton. Find us again midweek for our preview. Who do we have next, Chris? Is it Forest?
Why am I blanking? I can check quickly.
I know
give me one
April
moment
was-
where we're the most
April
prepared
had-
Everton content you've ever seen.
We still have Chelsea to come. We have Forest and Man City. I believe this is like a murderer's row for the season. So I think it's Forest next weekend.
So we have Forest, followed by Man City, followed by Chelsea, followed by Ipswich, Fulham, Southampton, and Newcastle.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back midweek with a preview show.
All right.
Chris, you want to see
Up
us
the
out?
Toffees.
Up the Toffees.